Mark, thanks a lot for agreeing to do this interview. What we have is potentially 2,500 of the registered members of the Bonaire Future Forum who are looking forward to hear you. Majority of them have registered from Bonaire. And of course, those who can want to vote, and those who can't vote by the ballot still have opinions, and they want those opinions to be informed, and they talk to people. And then those who, in additionally, they have homes here or they spend when they come, so they also have the vote by the wallet, the spending. And all of them, they care about the future of the island. So it's very important for them to hear from the leadership about themselves, about their party, about the island, and what they see in the future. In your case, of course, you are known on the island, both for yourself, but also for the family. But I think it's very useful for people to hear from you, literally, even your own childhood. So
I think one correction. I think people heard of me, but people don't know me.
Yeah, absolutely. And this gives them an opportunity. There are very few people who really gotten to know Clark Abraham from Clark Abraham.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to break it up into a couple of sections. We're going to talk about you, just your personal you, in terms of what was childhood like, where did you go to school, which neighborhoods did you grow up on, what were the memories that you have of Bonaire as a small child, what did you study later on, and how you discovered sort of life as a young person. Of course, you have a family history in politics, but did this come to you as a gift? Did you earn it? Did you fall into it? Was it expected that you would take on this mantle? So a little bit about how you entered politics, and then we're going to go into the party itself and the history of the party and the principles of the party. Once we're done with that, then we're going to talk specifics about policies, about population, about economy, about education, about. So with that, let's begin by Clark Abraham as a young boy. Where was he born? Where did he grow up as a little boy? What was his memories as a small kid?
Well, I'm the third of three from my mother and my father. My father is Jopie Abraham, Johan Evert. My mother is Anneline Beukenboom. It's funny because the father of my mother was in politics in one party. The father of my father was in politics from one party. And because that's why I said it's actually, if you go before that, so you could even say it's the Romeo and Juliet story, the Montagues and the Capulets, the families that could not go together. They found a way. My father found a way to convince the father of my mother to allow him. And my grandfather, my mother's side, my father became good friends, even though their parents. So my grandfather and my both my grandfathers were political opponents. My father and my grandfather on my mother's side became very good friends.
Where did they come from? Where did the family sort of journey?
From my I did a DNA test a couple of a year ago or something, and it's funny. We have, if I look at my DNA, we have roots in Scandinavia. We have roots in Ireland. We have some Dutch roots, mostly in Zeeland, because apparently the Krane family really came from Scandinavia. It was Kroon, became Crane, and then became Krane, and ended up here. And that's from my father's side. The mother of my father is Krane. Krane is a traditional family here in Bonaire, who mostly in
boat builders,
regional boat builders.
Yes, right.
It's where now
all the way,
Not even not we're talking about boats, but actually ships.
All across the Caribbean. I mean, there's St. Martin and all that.
They only sea people. They end up in St. Martin also really working on the sea. Actually, one of them used to live in front of here, passed away a couple of years ago. And then from my mother's side, also I have from my mother's side. Sorry, from my father's side I have Krane, and then I have also Abraham. But Abraham is mixed also in Krane, because in Krane we also have descendants from slaves, from local slaves, and from Abraham. It was Ibrahim, actually, Khalil Ibrahim. He came from Lebanon. He was a migrant. He was a Christian Lebanese, and you had, let me say, religious conflicts in the region. the Jews, the Muslims, and Christians in the same community didn't get along very well. Apparently, big part of his family got slaughtered, and he had to flee. And he fled Lebanon, and he went to Ellis Island, arrived in New York, stayed there a couple of years, peddling, selling things door to door, and he heard about opportunities in Latin America. And back in that day was steamships, so he had to go on a steamship coast to coast, island to island. And the last island before he could reach, I think it was Colombia, if I remember correctly, or Venezuela. I think it was Colombia. Before he could reach there, he stopped at Curacao to take the last leg. And when things didn't work out in Latin America, he thought, okay, let me go back to Curacao.
All by himself, or with a couple of cousins or friends? Literally all by himself.
Yeah.
And he's at that point, he's probably what? 20-something?
20-something.
Imagine.
And
no way of communicating, no real way of communicating.
He went with his brother, if I remember correctly, it's the book, I have to reread it again. Yeah. He went with his brother to Lebanon, I believe, to New York, I believe. Nor was alone, a brother came later or whatever. But he came alone to the region.
From the yeah.
And he then stayed in Curacao, married a local Curacao lady. Got a couple of kids, and with one of his kids, his eldest even, Julio, he moved to Bonaire. And he came to Bonaire, he was importing...
We're talking about...
Early 20th century.
Early
20th century. Right after the First World War, maybe he moved to Bonaire. He moved to these islands right before the First World War.
Yeah.
My grandfather, for example, was born right after, right before 1909, yeah, 1909.
Here
Julio was born in Curacao. And Julio was also a young man when he came to Bonaire.
And Julio was one of how many kids?
Four
kids.
And there's a book about it that says there's some discussions, even some things that happened and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's funny to read, right? So it's somebody who came with literally nothing.
Yeah.
He was Ibrahim when he left Lebanon. When he arrived at Ellis Island, they changed it to Abraham, which is the same, in Jewish communities they say Abraham. In Arabic communities they say Ibrahim, but it's the same name. Just in different.
In fact, the prophet Ibrahim is where
Ibrahim, exactly. Ibrahim. So what happens? He comes here. So he married Canada.
Yeah.
So you have then the Lebanese, but also the lady married here. So also has African slave roots.
Yeah.
And if we look at my DNA, we're talking about Ghana and Nigeria area. That area is where those roots come. From my mother's side, it's Reina Boy.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's funny because you have certain politicians right now, which are direct family of mine, or former politicians. For example, the former politician, I don't know if I could say former still anymore.
A bit more of it.
No, Ramoncito, for example, his father, that's why it's called Ramoncito, means small Ramon. Yeah. His father is called Ramon.
Yeah.
And his father is the twin brother of my great grandmother, who's called Ramona. From Mona Lisa, from that whole area. She couldn't read or write, but she could count. She was a businesswoman. So from my mother's side, it's Reina Boy family. Yeah. But also Beukeboom, because my grandmother married a Beukeboom. But it's funny enough, the mother of Ramona, the mother of Ramona is Madidi, was also a Beukeboom. So in Bonaire, you also had that families try to marry each other directly in there. So it's cousins twice, 3 times removed. So. And if you look at the DNA, I have literally DNA from Ghana area, Nigeria area, Persian area, and it's funny because people mix them up. You have the Persian area, but you also have the Arabic area. So you could say the around Israel, Lebanon, former Armenia, in that area, Mediterranean zone. The Paris of the Mediterranean area, and also a little bit out of East Europe. But funny enough, what I found most remarkable also out of West, Mezzo and South America. So we're talking Maya, Inca area.
So that's also
Indian, Native
Arawak
American
or whatever.
Yeah. Well, Arawak was more in the area of Venezuela.
Yeah.
And that area was the Inca Maya.
Inca
Maya.
So it's more that.
And we think that the Inca Maya is very far off period. No, it was when the Europeans arrived.
That's when
it was their area. It was their era.
That's right.
So it's funny. So actually, we are a melting pot of cultures and DNA.
Full of it.
Yeah. Well, I think that only Greater Asia and Southeast Asia, only thing that was missing, and then we would have the whole continent, whole world.
Exactly.
We would cover the whole world.
So that's sort of the family roots from where into the cauldron into which you are born.
Yeah.
One of four.
Yeah. One of three. I'm one of three. I'm the last son. From my mother, my father. My mother and my father had three children. So I have an older brother who's called the same as my grandfather, Julio. I have a sister, Angeline. And then it's me. That's my mother's three children. My father has.
And you're the youngest.
I'm the youngest.
What's the age difference between the three? How much?
Are you
the baby or?
I am. Yes. Well, my brother is 8 years older than me. My sister is 6 years older than me. And then after me, there is also 4 other brothers after me, and the closest after me is also 7 years difference, and then they get more frequent after. But my father had 7 children too. No, we always say my father was very religious apparently because he took the Bible really seriously.
Go forth and
Abraham and his 7 sons.
Yeah.
He tried. He only got 6 and 1 girl in the middle. And what you said, go forth and multiply.
So he.
Yeah, my brother always says, but he understood it wrong because God said, go forth and multiply, not multiply and go forth. No, so we have a mixed
family. What was childhood like when you were growing up? Which area of you were born in Bonaire?
I was born in Curacao. Why? Because my mom had to do cesarean.
Absolutely.
We didn't have the.
A lot of Bonaireans.
Born in Curacao. Within 2 weeks, we were back in Bonaire. In the first couple of months, we lived in Nikiboko, right behind where the Suriname bar is in Nikiboko at the Calle Veneziana. Afterwards, we stayed at my grandma's place in Playa. My grandma literally lived downtown. So if you're at where Trocadero is, that Rocheline used to be my grandmother's. That street right ahead, there was where my grandmother lived. We lived a lot at Kunuku with my grandmother. But my ancestral home, my mother and father home, was here where HBN Law right now has their office on the Gouverneur de Brot. And there is where I grew up. I lived there till I was around 7, 8. My parents then divorced. And we moved to Holland when I was 7 and a half, 8. Remember, those were the days that Bonaire, for example, didn't have cable TV. We had 3 channels. We had Venevisión, Telecorsau, and another, I think, another TV channel, and you have to go inside
right, you keep one person. Hold on, stop. Okay, stay there.
And as the youngest child,
you always had to be on the antenna.
And I was the remote. You have to change the channel.
Exactly.
I was the remote with legs back in that day. It was a nice childhood. It was very free. What did we do?
What did you just
bike around,
fish in the water,
go in the sea and fish. Fishing was like the pastime. You go fishing as bango. You go fishing with your dagbril. Go to my cousins. We go to the Kunuku. Use your imagination. It was a free, beautiful community. And back in that day, was the times that you had 2 hotels on Bonaire. You had the Divi Flamingo, where as a local you could go and sneak and swim in the swimming pool, and if the people in the hotel saw you, as long as you didn't bother the guests, that was the social contract you had. The economy is there to serve the people, so hey, we built this for the tourists, but actually we want the kids to have a place to swim.
There you go.
And you go to Sunset and you're there as a child and you're running on the beach and swimming, and these tourists who paid a bunch of money to come here, you're between them and mingling with them, and you're sitting at the bar and they start talking with you in English, and the only English you know, because you're 7 or 8, the only English you know is from TV, because you were watching a TV show yesterday and you use terms and go like, where did you what? How did you? Because you're watching TV all day and that's what you know. So that's that was Bonaire.
So you're 7 years old when you end up going